welcome to Mayowa's world. Okay, my name is Mayowa. If you're new to my channel, I talk about natural hair, freeform locks, body hair, female empowerment, women empowerment. And today's topic is going to be about how to not compare yourself, because I feel like this is something that I also need advice in, but it's things that I just constantly remind myself, and I thought maybe it could help y'all. If you like what you're seeing in my videos, don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up. At the current moment, I'm uploading twice a day, which this is week 2, and your girl is already like feeling the effects of how much work this is. But I'm like dedicated because I am, once again, always loving the dialogues that come in my videos, and I'm really appreciative for the people who have actually been keeping up with my work until now. So this is really for y'all. So comparing yourself or not comparing yourself, I think it's difficult in every single kind of industry that we work in, because we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's lives who we are always kind of measuring ourselves up to what they're doing. And I feel like this has just such a bad effect on your mental state. And it's, I think the best thing to do is to kind of keep your blinders on, but how to do that is just a fucking mystery for everyone. So these are tips that have helped me, and I hope they help you. First thing that I do is I always try to think of myself as a shape. Okay, let me explain. I think of myself as a triangle, right? And there are people who are circles. And I always feel like you can't compare a triangle to a circle, because there are things that triangles can do that circles can't do, vice versa. And when I remind myself to think of myself as a shape, I then begin like, yeah, what are you doing comparing yourself to someone else's life? Like, your experiences, what makes you who you are, the things that you like, it's all going to be so different than someone else. So it's really pointless to compare yourself to someone else's journey. Just like a triangle shouldn't compare itself to a circle. And then I get like even deeper into it, and I'm like, imagine if a triangle hated itself so much that it tried to be a circle, you know, and it would shave down its edges. It would shave down the parts of the triangle that make it unique to become a circle. Not only would that triangle look fucked up and like not like a circle, but it would also like lose the edge and lose the things that make that triangle really unique. And I think of that like, I think you should just be the best triangle that you can be. Like, you should sharpen your edges and like hang in circles, not hang in circles, but hang in spaces that really celebrate triangles and like your shape and your uniqueness. And I think circles should hang in spaces that celebrate circles. You know what I mean? So I feel like everyone's lane is so different. I don't know if this comparison makes sense, but anytime I think about things like in terms of like animals or shapes, it gives me like it makes me feel like I have a bigger purpose, because like, you know, with that quote by like Albert Einstein about how you can't compare like a goldfish to a monkey or something, or a turtle, I'll write the quote, but it's true. It's like, if you try to compare like how a fish exists to how like a monkey exists, it's like they're not even fighting the same competition. Like, a fish can't breathe out of water, but the monkey won't be like, oh, you're weak as fuck because you can't breathe out of water, right? The monkey would just be like, yeah, bet, like, you're in a different fucking game and competition than me, and like, we're just doing separate things. And so that kind of stuff makes me feel like I have a greater purpose when I'm just like, all right, bitch, like, be a triangle, be a fucking triangle. Don't compare yourself to circles, you know, you're just, and not one's better. You know, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm a triangle, so I'm better than circles or anything. It's just, I have a fucking different shape. Or maybe I'm an octagon, bitch. Maybe I got 8 points, you know what I'm saying? But I try to keep myself in just a different space, you know? I also remind myself that like my journey and my growth is often gonna be like being a butterfly, where you're really just moving from point A to point B, or point C to point D, but you really can't see how others are perceiving you fully. Like, really what you gotta do, like a butterfly is like never pressed by how beautiful the butterfly looks. Like, the butterfly is just like, I'm trying to get some pollen, I'm trying to get some ass, I'm trying to procreate, I'm trying to get my cocoon, bitch, I'm trying to grow from there. You know, that's like what butterflies do. And I feel like, you know, they're not focused on how others are like looking at them. And I always think about the same thing, like, you gotta think like a butterfly and sting like a bee. But you know what I mean? Like, you gotta just be so focused on just moving from point A to point B, and also be aware that maybe others are seeing beauty in you, but that shouldn't affect how you work. Like, I also feel like that's kind of the same thing when I get compliments. Like, whenever I get compliments from people, I'm actually happy that people feel comfortable to tell me what they think about my work. And I'm happy that they feel so moved by what I do. But I try not to let that become my defining factor, or to really kind of define who I am. I'm just kind of more so like, that's cool that you feel that way to express that about me. But like the positive side don't make me like the negative. And I think that's always the really hard part, is like knowing that your best compliment and your worst critique, neither of those are you, because you're always in motion. It's difficult though. I feel like sometimes I get into these like, and I notice that a lot of times when I compare myself, it's often when things in my life are not going well. And I feel like me comparing myself is not actually me responding to the situation at hand, but it's more so me using that as a justification for why I'm upset about other aspects in my life. And like, I realized like a lot of times sadness that comes from me is actually coming from like super simple shit. Like I ask myself like, bitch, did you eat? Because sometimes I'm hungry and my hunger is coming out in like being like, I'm not good at anything. Like I can't do anything. And I'm like, girl, you need to freaking eat. Or sometimes it's like, did you sleep enough? Like, did you get enough sleep? Because if you didn't get enough sleep, like that's also going to affect how you feel about yourself and how you look at yourself. And like just the simple, like sleeping, eating, like not drinking alcohol, not doing drugs. Like these are all things that I feel like they're small. They seem small, at least they seemed small in my head, but they actually make a big impact with how you feel about yourself. And I just tell myself, even when I have days where I'm comparing myself, I don't feel good. I'm just like, you just make it through. Just make it through the day, and then you have another day the next day. So that's another way. And I also feel like something that helps with not comparing yourself is to like, I don't look at things as like, don't work up, like work out. I think Issa Rae said it best in this interview that she did. But I feel like having friends who are kind of on the same vision as you and want to make the same change as you makes it really easy to not compare yourself, because when they succeed, you succeed. Like when I do well, my whole team does well. When I do well, all my best friends do well. And when they do well, I am happy. And it encourages me to try things differently and to believe more in myself. And I think that's also is like what matters, is like I have so many talented friends, like so many talented filmmaker friends, so many talented like dancers and musicians and comedians. Like I know so many people who I think just have so much talent, and I love to see them succeed because it reminds me that like it's a process and like it just comes in time. And I also feel like you can't it's not a race, you know? And I think that's the hardest part, especially if you're a competitive person like myself, is that you think about everything like as a race. Like I naturally just think about who can do things the fastest, who can do things the quickest. And then you just kind of realize that like, it's literally not a race. And you have to learn how to actually love the process more than the destination. Like that's another thing that I realize is like, I learned this from my fighting coach. She always says like, don't be in love with like the win, be in love with the process of what happens to you on that journey. And I feel like when I thought about that, I'm like, that's actually really beautiful. Like, it's not about like the hook or like the kill or whatever. It's about like the process that gets you stronger and opens your mind to everything. And when I look at like my career, and it's really funny because I made a video like 2 years ago called I don't know what I'm doing in my life, where I was like, literally, I had no clue like which direction I wanted to go and like what my purpose was. But I was like, I'm actually really impressed by this video because it was very honest. And I feel like it's really hard to admit that you don't know what you're doing or where you're going. And I look back at that and where I am now, and like my career has flourished, and like a lot of the problems I had back then, I don't have the same problems. I have newer problems, but it's not the same ones I was dealing with back then, which is where I wasn't feeling like I was succeeding in life, career-wise. And I feel like I was just in a different journey, and like you should only compare yourself to, I try to compare myself to my previous self versus comparing myself to others, because like I said, a bitch is a triangle and I'm not trying to be no circle. I also feel like something that helps me not compare myself is when I do activities that make me actually happy. Like I love doing comedy, I love making videos, and when I'm like in spaces where I do comedy, I realize that in my head, like there's no better comedian. We all just have different audiences, and like the truth is like, how do you find your audience and how do you like communicate with your audience? And so like with everything I do, I don't really know if I think I'm the best that's doing it, but I feel like maybe I'm speaking in a way that is attracting who I need to be around, and then in that way it rewards me. Because it's like, if I was expecting to be celebrated in like mainstream spaces, I would never be celebrated. But because I have people who are kind of looking out for things that are a bit different, things that are a bit unique, a bit like with a different kind of authenticity, then I'm rewarded in these spaces. And so I feel like when you're in spaces that encourage you, it's easier to not compare yourself. And, you know, you just need a group of people who just believe in you, like the way my friends will literally lift me the fuck up when I doubt myself. Like, they're like, no, 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 honey. We don't have any time for you to doubt yourself, bitch. Like, get your shit together. You're great. You're amazing. Like, I think a lot of times when you're trying newer things, you actually need the most encouragement. It's kind of like with a kid. You know, when a child is like learning how to walk, they look awkward as fuck. But like, you have to like be like, yeah, yeah. And then the kid like kind of figures it out. And then like, you know, the kid learns how to walk or whatever. But you're not giving so much encouragement when the child knows how to walk than in the beginning stages. And I think of it just with like our growth as well. And so it's not a competition. You're a motherfucking triangle, bitch. You're unique. No one can do what you can do. And I always remind myself, like, no one has the same experiences as me. No one can do what I can do. And like, that is my strength. And I have to always lean into those things, like lean into the things that make me different than trying to always fit in. And a lot of my life not a lot of my life. There's been some parts of my life where I tried to fit in, and I just felt like everything was falling apart when I was doing that. Like, it was just breaking down. But when I kind of do things that I know is a bit weird, I feel like I feel a lot more rewarded, and it's easier for me to not compare myself. So I hope this helps. This is the things that I remind myself to do to stop comparing myself. I appreciate y'all's support. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you for watching. Choose!
I know it's hard, nothing comes with ease, but this is Brazil, this is Brazil.